Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, I'm John, back here with another video on my channel, Musings of a Marine. And I've got a topic to talk about today with everybody, and I think some people who watch my channel can definitely relate to this. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of them are about relationships with Filipinas and foreigners, and how to make them work and stuff like that. And I wanted to throw my own 2 cents in here because um, this past Friday, March 20th, my wife Diana and I celebrated our 28th wedding anniversary. Okay. For those of you who know me, my wife is from Iloilo City in the Philippines. So I know a little bit about relationships with a Filipina. But I wanted to touch on some things to maybe make it a little bit easier for expats who want to go to the Philippines and meet somebody and have a relationship with a Filipino over there, which I highly recommend. And I'm not going to tell anybody what age bracket they should choose. Whatever works for you. Relationships can work regardless of age gaps, and we see that time and time again. But if I may, I've got some bullet points I want to go over. And just a quick introduction to this. How did I meet Diana? Well, I actually met her in Michigan. She had an ad in a singles network magazine, and I answered that ad. And she actually answered some other letters she received before she did me and went on some other dates. But she decided to give me a try, primarily because I had been to the Philippines twice already. And she thought, hey, maybe this guy knows a little bit about the Philippines and could relate better. So she eventually did write me about 3 months later. Anyways, one of the points I want to make about this is if things aren't working out for you with Western women and you want to maybe meet a Filipina instead, you don't necessarily have to go to the Philippines to do that. So that's the first point I want to make in all this. I met my wife here in Michigan after we got together and went on a date. Come to find out, she was a nanny for a family here in the Detroit area already. And so that worked out fantastic. She'd stay at a friend's house on the weekend, and it was only about a 25-minute drive to pick her up, go on a date. So there you have it. You don't have to fly all the way to the Philippines to find a good old-fashioned Filipino woman. And Diana and I were both in our mid-30s when we met. So the nice thing about that was we were still both young. So I didn't need to go look for a young Filipina because Diana was only 36 at the time we got married. And she's actually 22 months older than I am. So you don't need to go for one of the young ones. Personally, if I was single, I wouldn't even think of dating a Filipina unless she was at least in her 30s anyway. But regardless, that's how it all kind of came together. And you don't need to just pack up and sell everything and move to the Philippines for the sole reason of finding a Filipina. There are plenty here in the United States. A lot of them are nurses, and therefore they've got it together financially already. Di did not need to marry me for money, that's for sure. She had her life well put together before I came along. So that was kind of nice. But it was a benefit in our relationship that I had gone to the Philippines twice already. When I was in Okinawa, in the Marines, I took a couple of vacations to the Philippines, flew down from Kadena Air Force Base in Okinawa to Clark, hung out in Angeles a lot of the time, and of course went to Olongapo and Baguio, and I got to see some things. And I didn't go down there with any intention of having any long-term relationship with anybody, just to have some fun. Some of you know what I mean by that. Exactly. But anyways, so I did have that going for me. And why did that help in our relationship? Well, just because there's some certain things that, I'm going to look at some of these bullet points here that I made. That if you are going to go over to the Philippines with the thought of retiring or finding a mate, check the place out first a couple of times. Go different places, see different things. Get to know some people, but don't get into a relationship right away. You want to kind of feel out the situation. And I was able to do that before I met Diana. I mean, when I went to Iloilo the first time with her, it had been 17 and a half years since I'd been to the country, but I knew some of the things to expect. And the first time I was in Iloilo with her, we were walking through the heart of the city proper area, and I saw this guy who I'm assuming was an American, and he's walking around with his Filipina lady, and he had this look of absolute bewilderment on his face. And I could tell he'd never been to the Philippines before. All the people, the crowds, the homeless sitting there on the side of the streets with club foot or whatever, and crippled and begging for money. Odds are he'd never seen anything like that before. And I've touched on it in other videos. None of this was all new to me. Okay, so I had seen it in Angeles and in Longapo as well. So sad but true, but I knew how people lived over there, how some people were so impoverished. And that brings me to another point, that when you do finally hook up with a Filipina, you want to embrace her family. I certainly did that with Diana's family. My brothers-in-law, Ali and Romeo, aren't just relatives of mine through marriage, they're friends of mine. First time I went over there, I adopted in my heart my nephews Pito and Baba. Love those guys to death when they were kids. And I'm very close with Baba even to this day, because he stays in our house over there and takes care of our affairs for us. So that's something that you want to embrace. My wife's family treats me great when I'm over there. Always making sure that I'm being taken care of. I mean, sometimes my brother-in-law, Pedro's wife, Nenette, will even fix a separate dinner just for me. The pure food hot dogs and French fries. Knowing that I'm not into the kind of fish they eat, and I don't want to eat rice all the time. So Filipino people are very, they treat you great, and the hospitality that they give you is off the charts, and you want to embrace that. Now, another thing a lot of expats have a problem with, though, and that gets into the next point here, is your spouse, if you bring them back to the States, your Filipino spouse is going to want to send money to her family. She's going to want to send these balikbayan boxes to her family full of stuff that they may need or desire. Let her do it. Especially if she is working herself, let her do it. You have to understand the family dynamic over there. Family is everything for Filipinos. It is their support system. And unless there's some stupid feud going on in a family, they take care of each other much better than the typical American family does. And I've seen it, and I love it. And, I've said it before in videos. The houses of my in-laws and our house are a street apart, but they might as well be connected to each other, because everybody is free to to stop by, go in and out of each other's house without even calling or asking permission or anything. That's how it is over there. So let your spouse help her family out as long as it's within reason. I mean, if she's giving her whole paycheck to them, yeah, that might be another thing. But when I first went to Iloilo with my wife and saw my nephew Pito kicking around a deflated soccer ball, I was like, hey, none of my nephews and nieces in the United States, have to kick around a deflated soccer ball. They've got nice basketballs or soccer balls or whatever to play with. So that next day I went out and bought Pito a basketball. And that's always how I have looked at Diana's family. I married into that family, so they are mine too. And they look at me that way also. But only to a point. If you are a Westerner and you marry into a Filipino family, you will never fully be integrated into them. You will never be fully one of them, no matter how much you embrace the culture, whether you learn the language or not, you still are not exactly like them, and they still will expect you at times to just keep your mouth shut and butt out of situations, okay? And for some who are going to watch this video, I stuck my nose into a situation with my wife's family and shouldn't have, and it did put a strain on Diana's marriage for sure. Being married isn't easy, no matter what. You're going to go through struggles, you're going to have fights, you're going to have arguments. Diana and I got married after we were only dating 8.5 months. And I only got to see her on Friday nights most of the time. So even after we got married, we had to get to know each other some. And after a few trips to the Philippines and this incident that I'm not going to talk about, I did learn real quick that there's just some things that I just need to stay out of. So, lesson learned, and Di and I got past that, and things are good again. And her family doesn't hold a grudge against me for doing it. I hope. Anyway, they sure didn't seem to the next year when we went over there. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that any further than that. But nonetheless, you have to understand that there's just certain things you just kind of let the family deal with, and you just stay out of it. And the longer you're married and the more often you go to the Philippines with your spouse, or if you live there, you'll learn this stuff. It takes time. There's trial and error in every marriage, no matter what the situation. Diana and I, you ask, well, what kept us together so long? Well, it wasn't because of common interests. When I sent her the letter to her singles network ad, it was a picture of me in the RCA Dome in Indianapolis with a Colts jersey on and the field in the background. And she probably thought, why on earth would this guy send me a picture like that? Well, I wanted to be honest with her. You're going to marry, you're going to hook up with me. You're going to hook up with a diehard Indianapolis Colts fan, and you should know that already, knowing that she probably couldn't have cared less about football. But I wanted to put that out there and be honest, And you got to do that with your spouse, of course. So, anyways, those are some other things that I wanted to touch on. It helps if you're a Christian when you go over there too, and particularly a Catholic. You'll fit in better. My most watched full-length video I've done on YouTube was about Catholicism in the Philippines. It means a lot to me. Now, whether you're into religion or not, that's fine, but I want you to understand that the odds are your wife will be, or your Filipina girlfriend will be, and most likely will be Catholic. And there's a very good chance that she is going to want to attend church. And there's going to be pictures of Jesus and Mary in her house or in her family's house, and rosaries and everything else. And I hope that doesn't offend you if you are agnostic or claim to be atheist or something. because guess what? You're going to have to deal with it, and it's everywhere. You know, Christmas is a 4-month holiday. Easter is huge. Holy Week is unbelievable over there with public floggings and crucifixions. They get into it big time. You may think that's crazy, but if you are going to live in another country, you have to accept this kind of stuff. Now, fortunately for me, Di and I are both Catholic. That was never even an issue between us. Both churchgoers, worked out just fine. But I just want to bring that up because, you know, if you're going to go over there and, you know, try and ignore that aspect of the Philippines, good luck. It's not going to happen. It's everywhere. And hopefully, if we get to go there in September, we're going to hang out in Cebu a couple of days. And the first thing I want to go see is the Cross of Magellan. You know, so that's kind of, you know, what it means to me. And, you know, just want to make people aware of that. So just want to touch base on all these things. And I want to close this video out with one last bullet point. One of the reasons that men love Filipino women, Western men love Filipino women, is because they are nurturers. They're going to give you that back rub if you really need it, especially if you're older. Most of them know how to cook and cook good. Di definitely is good at that. And so your stomach is going to be satisfied, and they're going to take care of you. The laundry is going to be done. The house is going to be clean. These are typical things that a Filipina does for you. But one thing that Di and I had to learn in our marriage that I want to touch on here is that you can pitch in too, okay? You know, I grew up in a household where we cleaned the house on Saturdays, and my mom was a bank teller, so she was working. It was my brother and I who vacuumed and dusted our living room and family room. It was my sister that cleaned the bathrooms on Saturday mornings. There was none of this women's work nonsense. We did the dishes. To this day, Diana cooks most of the stuff, and I usually clean up afterwards. That's how we do it. And now that I am working part-time and have Mondays off, oftentimes on Monday mornings, I'm dusting or vacuuming the house, doing these things while she's at her job. So pitch in and help her, because believe you me, the rewards you will get are just unbelievable. You know, that's why Filipinos make such great nurses and caregivers. They're naturally nurturing people. They take care of people, and it's not just the women. Even the guys are like that too. Okay, it's the whole dynamic. It's the whole culture that they like to take care of each other. So keep that in mind and be good to your Filipina, and the rewards you'll get will be absolutely incredible. But be patient. Go to the country first. Kind of feel things out before you commit to living there and commit to hooking up with a Filipino woman. And, you know, just be smart about it. Don't have high expectations. Some things aren't going to work out, and some are. But know this, that once you find your Filipina, you too could end up being married to them for 28 years and counting. So that's all I wanted to cover with today. Thank you very much for tuning in. God bless everybody. Semper Fi, and take care.